Researchers were out looking for sharks the other day off the Canary Islands, where they found something quite unexpected.
In the crushing darkness nearly 5,000 meters beneath the Pacific Ocean's surface, something stirred. Scientists from the University of Western Australia had lowered a baited camera into the pitch-black depths of the Tonga Trench, a place so remote, so unexplored, it's been called Earth's final frontier. Their goal? Capture whatever life might lurk in the abyss. But what they retrieved defied belief. For decades, mariners have whispered tales of monstrous creatures lurking in the deep. Giant squids with eyes the size of dinner plates. Glowing beasts that vanish when pursued. Sharks older than empires. Most chalked it up to exaggeration, hallucination, folklore. That was until the footage came back. The camera, affixed to a dead fish, was meant to entice bottom feeders.
This is a humpback angler fish known as a black sea monster. Black because it's black, and sea monster because, well, look at it. What else would you call it?
But something massive took the bait. Something with jaws strong enough to crack steel, and a presence more chilling than anything ever recorded. What it revealed shocked even the experts. Deep-sea phantoms, legends and rumors. Long before sonar and submersibles allowed us to glimpse the abyss, the ocean's deepest realms lived only in myth and terror. For centuries, sailors returned from long voyages with eyes wide, voices hushed, and stories too bizarre to believe. They spoke of serpents longer than ships, tentacled monstrosities that dragged crews into the black, and glowing alien beasts that moved without sound. Maps from the age of exploration bore a chilling phrase across their unexplored zones. Here be monsters. As ridiculous as these tales once seemed, modern science has uncovered chilling fragments of truth. The Kraken, for example, was long considered a sailor's hallucination, until the mid-2000s, when cameras finally captured the first living colossal squid, Mesonychoteuthis hamiltoni, off the coast of Antarctica. These creatures, with razor-lined tentacles and eyes the size of dinner plates, can grow up to 40 to 45 feet long. Their discovery proved something important. The ocean still holds giants. Then there's the frilled shark, an ancient predator that looks more like a sea serpent than a modern fish. With its gaping mouth, 300 needle-like teeth, and a body shaped like an eel, it glides through the water like a memory from the dinosaur age. Rarer still is the goblin shark, a pinkish, deep-water freak with a slingshot jaw that juts forward to snatch prey in a split second. It's so strange, many people assume photos of it are fake. They aren't. Add to this the world of bioluminescent life, and the ocean begins to resemble an alien planet. In the Hadal zone, where sunlight never reaches, animals don't just survive, they glow. Entire species have evolved their own internal lights. Jellyfish that pulse like strobes, lanternfish with glowing bellies, and deep-sea anglerfish with luminous lures that dangle like bait from their heads. These lights serve as traps, camouflage, or communication in a world of eternal night. But it doesn't stop there. Some of the strangest encounters remain unexplained. Recordings of massive shapes darting past submersible cameras too quickly to be identified. In 2017, an unmanned probe diving off the Mariana Trench captured what researchers described as a huge gelatinous mass that moved like a creature, not a current. The footage was grainy, inconclusive, but disturbing. Then there's the unsettling footage of so-called ghost fish. These translucent, eyeless beings seem almost weightless, hovering in place with no visible effort. Some look humanoid, some seem too large to exist. Divers have reported fleeting glimpses of enormous transparent creatures floating just outside the light. With no bones, no obvious features, and no behavior that aligns with known species, these apparitions remain one of marine biology's strangest mysteries. Another legend that refuses to die is the Black Demon of Cortez, a supposed shark-like creature said to haunt the waters off Mexico. Witnesses claim it's over 50 feet long, jet black, and silent. No proof has ever surfaced, yet sonar blips and damaged fishing gear have kept the mystery alive. And in the waters off Japan, fishermen have reported giant oarfish, serpentine creatures that resemble underwater dragons. In 2010, a 16-foot-long oarfish washed ashore, proving once again that truth and myth often share the same DNA. What binds all these stories is a common thread. We simply don't know what's down there. The ocean is the largest, least explored part of our planet. Over 80% remains uncharted. And as technology advances, we're only now beginning to see what generations of sailors feared and folklore hinted at. And in September 2024, when scientists dropped a camera into the second deepest ocean trench on Earth, the Tonga Trench, they didn't just find evidence of these legends. They found something worse, something that bit back. The expedition blueprint. The mystery began with a question. What truly lives in the deepest, coldest, most lightless corners of Earth's oceans? In September 2024, a team of marine researchers from the Minderoo UWA Deep Sea Research Center, in collaboration with Kelpie Geosciences, and funded in part by Inkfish, set out to find an answer. Their target, the Tonga Trench, located in the South Pacific, an isolated gash in the seafloor stretching over 10 kilometers deep, second only to the Mariana Trench in depth. Few have dared to explore it. Even fewer have returned with answers. But this mission was different. Armed with new generation baited camera landers, the scientists devised a deceptively simple plan. Attach a camera rig to a weight, bait it with a freshly frozen mackerel head, and let it sink into the trench. The goal? To capture raw, unfiltered footage of the strange and secretive life that inhabits the abyss. The bait serves a dual purpose. In the deep sea, food is scarce. Every scent draws attention. A dead fish is like a flare in the dark, attracting scavengers, predators, and sometimes things science has never seen. The hope was that by luring in these animals naturally, the camera would witness behaviors no remotely operated vehicle, ROV, or submersible ever could. The landers are designed to survive the unimaginable pressure at 4,000 plus meters, where the weight of the ocean above can crush metal. Equipped with red light, barely visible to most deep-sea creatures, the cameras can film without disturbing their subjects. Every inch of wiring, every bolt, every flash of light was engineered for survival. But the scientists weren't prepared for what they actually captured. The camera lander groaned as it slipped beneath the waves, vanishing from sight within seconds. Suspended by its ballast, it began its slow descent into oblivion. From the deck of the research vessel, the scientists watched the monitors with hushed anticipation, knowing that what they had just launched was plunging into one of the most inhospitable environments on Earth. At first, sunlight still managed to penetrate the water, casting a ghostly blue glow across the screen. Schools of small fish darted through the light, oblivious to the mechanical intruder falling through their realm. But within minutes, that glow began to fade, swallowed by the crushing darkness below. 1,000 meters, the twilight zone. Light ceased to exist naturally. Life here was sparse and strange. Twisted forms that drifted like phantoms. Jellyfish shimmered with electric pulses. An eel, ghost pale, slithered past the lens before vanishing into the dark. 2,500 meters, the midnight zone. Water temperatures plunged to near freezing. Pressure mounted to over 250 times what we experience at sea level, enough to implode steel if not properly fortified. The fish head bait hung lifelessly from its tether, suspended like an offering to gods no one believed in. 4,000 meters, the abyssal plain. This is the realm of shadows and silence. No sunlight has ever touched these depths. It is a world older than human history. One so dark and so alien it might as well be another planet. Here, time seems to stop. Movement is slow. Survival means adaptation, and sometimes brutality. As the camera settled gently onto the ocean floor, it kicked up a silent storm of silt, momentarily clouding the lens in gray. For several long moments, nothing stirred. Only the faint hiss of sonar and the quiet whir of machinery filled the monitors aboard the ship. Then, something moved. Just beyond the range of the red lights, a shape drifted past. Slow, heavy, deliberate. It didn't resemble any known fish or squid. There were no fins, no tentacles. Just a presence, large, watching. The researchers leaned in, hearts racing. Something was out there, and it had seen the bait. First contact, shadows in the black. At first, there was nothing but the slow swirl of sediment, and the static hum of the camera's live feed. The fish head dangled slightly in the current, gently rocking back and forth in the red glow. Hours passed. Then it happened. The water shifted. From the left side of the frame, a shadow loomed, massive, deliberate, and moving without a sound. The creature didn't swim so much as glide, like a submarine covered in skin. There were no flashing lights, no bioluminescent glow to announce its presence. Only darkness darker than the surrounding dark. The outline was indistinct. At first glance, it could have been mistaken for a boulder caught in a current, until it stopped, right in front of the camera. The scientists on board stiffened. One muttered, "What is that?" The shape circled slowly, just beyond the range of full clarity. Then it turned, and the researchers caught their first real glimpse. It had a blunt snout, thick as a tree trunk, with two ghost-like eyes sunk deep into its head. The mouth was shut, but the outline of its jaws was unmistakable. Broad, serrated, built for crushing. Its skin looked like ancient leather, rough, dark, mottled like ocean rock. It wasn't a giant squid. It wasn't a known shark. It wasn't even like the grotesque goblin sharks or frilled predators occasionally caught in deep water nets. It was something else, something heavier. Then it did something no deep-sea creature had ever done in recorded footage. It stared directly into the camera. For nearly 30 seconds, it hovered there, unmoving. A silent standoff between machine and monster. And then, without warning, it surged forward. The lens was consumed in darkness. Jaws opened, revealing rows of jagged teeth. The screen shook violently as the creature clamped down, not on the bait, but on the camera itself. Metal groaned. For a moment, everything went black. In the control room, no one spoke. The only sound was the low beeping from the equipment trying to re-establish signal. Then, the image flickered back on, scratched, fogged, and still recording. And the shark was still there. The bite. The image on the screen was grainy, waterlogged, and slightly askew, but it was still intact. Against all odds, the camera had survived the initial impact. Inside the research vessel's control room, the team stared in disbelief, adrenaline coursing through their veins. No one spoke. No one even moved. The creature was still there. It had released the lens, but not the bait. For a few tense seconds, the only visible sign of life was a thick, sweeping mass re-entering the frame. As it turned slowly in front of the lens, the camera caught a full-body glimpse, thick, muscular, and covered in coarse, dark skin. It moved like a ghost, heavy, but with eerie grace, barely disturbing the water around it. Then it turned again, and the mouth came into view. Slowly, almost ceremoniously, it opened wide. The lower jaw unhinged in a way that seemed both precise and uncomfortably practiced. The interior of the mouth revealed a set of jagged, conical teeth, some blunt, some serrated, all embedded in thick pink gums. The creature hovered, its open mouth facing the camera as if sizing it up. Then, without any warning, it lunged again. The screen shook violently. A thunderous crunch exploded through the ship's speakers. This time, the camera was no longer just filming the predator. It was inside it. The view shifted to chaos as the lens was enveloped in darkness. Water rushed past the housing and something soft, maybe the creature's tongue, brushed the lens. The pressure was immense. Every few seconds, rows of teeth scraped against the casing with a sound that sent chills through the room. This wasn't a curious nibble anymore. This was an attempt to devour. Inside the control room, gasps erupted. Someone muttered, "It's trying to eat the camera." Another whispered, "That's the inside of its mouth." No one could look away. The image jolted again and again, but somehow the housing held. The team had designed it to survive the depths, but not the jaws of a living submarine. And then, it stopped. Just as suddenly as it had begun, the pressure released. The darkness receded. The camera tumbled back into the open trench, slimy and scuffed, but still operational. Static filled the edges of the frame, but the view was intact, and the predator was still in sight. It hovered over the baitfish now, motionless. Then, With terrifying efficiency, it surged downward and clamped onto the mackerel head, swallowing it whole in one smooth motion. In that moment, the team understood. This creature wasn't afraid of sound, light, or even foreign objects invading its territory. It had investigated the camera with intelligence. It had bitten twice, with different force each time. And in doing so, it had revealed something far more chilling than a new species. Later, after recovering the camera rig and downloading the footage, the team noticed something bone-chilling. The second bite, the more violent one, had nearly crushed the outer shell of the housing. If its jaws had landed just a few centimeters closer to the core, the entire unit would have imploded under the pressure, and they would have lost everything. But the most unsettling discovery wasn't the near destruction of the camera. It was what they saw in the creature's eyes. When they slowed the footage down, frame by frame, they saw it clearly. Before the first lunge, it had turned its head slightly. Not to inspect the bait, but to stare directly into the lens. It wasn't a mindless animal blindly feeding. It had seen the camera. In the lab, Dr. Jessica Kolbus sat motionless as she watched the full playback. Her face was pale, her voice barely audible when she finally spoke. "That's not just a deep-sea predator," she said. "That's an apex, something we've never documented, not down here. And judging by the way it approached us, it's been watching for a long time." The creature hadn't simply taken the bait. It had made a statement, the reveal: Pacific sleeper shark. When the footage was fully analyzed, frame by frame, experts began piecing together what they had just witnessed. The size, the behavior, the slow yet calculated movements, it all pointed to a species known but rarely seen in such a way. The creature that had nearly destroyed the camera swallowed a mackerel head whole and glided through the trench like a ghost from Earth's prehistoric past was identified as a Pacific sleeper shark, Somniosus pacificus. At first, the team struggled to believe it. Pacific sleeper sharks are among the least understood large predators in the ocean. Their elusive nature, sluggish movement, and preference for deep, cold waters have kept them shrouded in mystery. What made this sighting so shocking wasn't just the footage. It was the location. These sharks are usually found in the North Pacific, often near Alaska, Canada, and Japan. This encounter took place thousands of kilometers away, deep within the Atacama Trench in the southern hemisphere. This was more than a rare appearance. It was the first confirmed sighting of a Pacific sleeper shark this far south, and certainly at this depth. The individual filmed was estimated to be 3.5 to 3.6 meters long, and notably, a female, determined by the absence of claspers near the pelvic fins. This was a fully mature adult, not a lost juvenile, but a seasoned apex predator patrolling a trench few humans have ever dared to enter. Unlike other sharks that rely on speed or aggression, the Pacific sleeper shark is a stealth hunter. Its body is dense and muscular, with no swim bladder. Instead, it maintains buoyancy with a giant oil-filled liver, allowing it to glide silently along the ocean floor. It's been known to feed on fish, squid, octopuses, crustaceans, and even the occasional seal or whale carcass in northern waters. What it hunts in the South Pacific trenches is still unknown. What sets the sleeper shark apart, however, isn't just its physiology. It's the way it moves. These sharks are slow, moving with a ghostly calm, which makes their sudden lunges, like the one captured in the Tonga footage, all the more terrifying. Scientists believe the species has evolved to conserve energy in cold, food-scarce waters, capable of long periods of motionless waiting, followed by a single explosive strike. But perhaps the most fascinating and unsettling aspect is their lifespan. Although no Pacific sleeper shark has been definitively aged, their close relative, the Greenland shark, Somniosus microcephalus, is known to live over 400 years, making it the longest living vertebrate on Earth. If the Pacific sleeper shares even a fraction of that lifespan, the shark in the video could be older than most modern nations. And yet, despite their size, strength, and potential age, sleeper sharks remain largely invisible to humans. They prefer the shadows. They rarely breach. Most footage of them comes from deep-sea trawls or unexpected bycatch. Seeing one this clearly and having it engage directly with equipment was unprecedented. This discovery doesn't just rewrite what we know about the species' geographic range. It challenges assumptions about the biodiversity of deep ocean trenches. These extreme environments, crushing pressure, near-freezing temperatures, absolute darkness, were once thought to be home only to microbes and tiny scavengers. But the sleeper shark's presence suggests something more complex: a functioning, interconnected ecosystem capable of supporting massive predators at unimaginable depths. Dr. Jessica Kolbus, reviewing the footage again days later, reflected on what it meant. "This isn't just a sighting," she said. "It's evidence that these sharks may be far more widespread and adaptable than we ever imagined. And if they're here, what else is?" In the broader scientific community, the footage has sparked new calls for deep trench exploration and conservation. Pacific sleeper sharks are currently listed as near threatened by the IUCN. Due to their slow growth and low reproductive rates, they're especially vulnerable to deep-sea fishing and habitat disruption. Encounters like this show how little we truly understand about their range, their habits, and their role in the ocean's hidden food web. But beyond the biology and conservation urgency, the Tonga Trench footage did something else, something rare. It reminded humanity that the Earth still holds secrets, that even in an age of satellites and AI, there are places we've barely touched, creatures we've barely met, and one of them just looked into a camera and bit it. Aftermath and broader impact. The Tonga Trench encounter didn't just make waves in the marine biology community. It sent shockwaves through scientific institutions and the public alike. Within days of the footage going live, it was picked up by major outlets, spawning headlines about monster sharks, ghost predators, and the alien of the deep. But beyond the sensationalism, serious conversations were taking place behind closed doors. Oceanographers, deep-sea biologists, and conservationists were stunned by the implications. The Tonga Trench, long regarded as one of the most underexplored regions of the Pacific, had suddenly become a hotspot for marine mystery. If a Pacific sleeper shark, previously thought to inhabit only northern latitudes, was now confirmed in these depths, what other apex predators might be lurking silently in the dark? The event also underscored the urgency of funding deep-sea exploration. Despite covering more than 70% of Earth's surface, over 80% of our oceans remain unmapped and unexplored. Most of what we know comes from satellite imaging or shallow dives. The deepest places on Earth, trenches like Tonga, Mariana, and Kermadec, are still vast frontiers where nature writes its rules in total darkness. And with climate change, deep-sea mining, and overfishing increasingly threatening even the most remote ocean ecosystems, the need for scientific insight is now critical. "We can't protect what we don't understand," said Dr. Kolbus in a later statement. "This encounter was extraordinary, but it's also a warning. These species may be ancient, but they're not invincible." Meanwhile, the camera, the same one that survived a predator's jaws, is now displayed at a marine institute in Perth, a battered, barnacle-encrusted relic that tells a story of resilience, curiosity, and awe. Visitors gather around it, not just to marvel at its survival, but to ask the bigger question: what else is out there? Because that's what this story really unlocked: wonder. In a world obsessed with speed, progress, and control, this brief moment in the deep reminded us that some corners of our planet remain beautifully, terrifyingly unknown. If something this massive, ancient, and mysterious can exist right here on Earth, what else might be watching us from the darkness, waiting for the right moment to be seen? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.